Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nature Talks podcast. Today I'm here with my friend Anurag. Hi Anurag, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Yeah.
Good to have you here at our studio, which is in our office.
Yeah, good to be here.
And so Anurag and I have met many years ago. I think around 7-8 years back.
Yeah, 7-8 years back. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to tell the audience where we met?
Yeah, we met at there was a DDA and MCD conference or like a gathering about relocating stray dogs from a colony, and there was a call for people to come together. And somehow I think on Facebook I saw this, and I just landed up. I didn't know anybody, and there were a few of you who had gathered, and there were representatives from the MCD as well. And we sat in this big sort of official room, like government authorized room, presented the case. Yeah.
It was for not for relocating, it was for allowing dogs in parks.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And that was at the DDA head office.
Right. Okay.
We met with the vice chairman of the DDA that time.
Right.
And there were about, I think, 15-20 of us from different organizations. And yeah, we presented our case to the VC, and then that's when it was decided that dogs will be allowed in all the parks in Delhi, and all the signboards that say no dogs allowed in parks have to be removed. So in case anybody ever sees any of those signs that no dogs allowed in the park, it's illegal to put that sign, and it should be removed. They can have timings to take dogs in the parks, but they can't completely ban the dogs from the parks. And also we were telling them that at first there was this other side that was suggesting that you just keep a small section in the park for the dogs. And some of us were saying that why don't you keep a small section in the park for the people who don't like dogs?
Right. It was so long back I've completely forgotten, but yeah, you're right. It was about that. What I was very surprised was actually there's a turnout for people in support, you know?
Yeah, there were a lot of us on one side of the table and just few people on the other side. So yeah, it's a good thing. I think it's changed people's lives. And so many people were getting harassed before that just for taking their dog for a walk in the park, because it's important to walk your dog. If you don't walk it, then they'll become weak if they don't get exercise. Then it's their natural instinct to run around and play, and if you restrict that, then it's like cruelty. And where else, if they don't go in the parks, they can't be running around in the roads where there are cars moving, people are moving. So yeah, it was a good decision by the DDA, and credit should be given for all the good work where it's counted.
Yeah, even like for dogs to have enough natural space to sniff around, no? For them to otherwise the brain is not stimulated enough.
Yeah.
Even for humans, and I mean that's I think where the intersection between what you do, and dogs required, right? I mean human beings need to be around nature. We need to be looking at trees. We need to be spending time in the sounds of nature, the smells of nature, and it's not very different for a dog.
Yeah.
So
plus, when a dog gets sick, they go around and they know which plant to eat. Because they sniff around and then they taste around, and then they know that this one will fix the stomach, this one will not fix the stomach. So if they don't have the access to all those plants, then how are they going to fix themselves?
Right.
They'll be dependent on all the medication and more bills for humans to pay for when all the medication is available outside in nature. So plus the smell of wet soil, the smell of the different flowers also, and dogs have their sense of smell at least is like 1,000 times stronger than human. Even the sense of hearing is much higher than what a human can hear. So like even if you just at the gate of your house, your dog inside would know that you've come back home.
Yeah.
So they're quite more intelligent than humans in many ways. And so anyway, let's cut forward to our nature walks recently.
Right.
We just did some nature walks with you and your students.
Yeah.
You want to tell the audience how's that experience?
Right. So I mean, basically, since we met, I think about 8 years back, I've been trying to find a way to work together, something, and it's been very tough. How do you create something? How do you work on something? And I've been teaching in a design institute called IID since the past 2 years now, almost. And one thing that I've always felt in the education space, especially, is that it's very closed off in a classroom environment.
Yeah.
And you can keep talking about, expand your awareness, be more intelligent, spend more time observing, but stuck in a concrete classroom, I don't think it really works, And I knew that you were somebody in the city who was really working towards this, taking people out and not just saying, okay, walk around, but also educating at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's when we got in touch with you. It was a huge batch. 60 in one and total 4 sections. So 240 students we were working with.
Yeah.
And we finally decided to, upon your recommendation, we decided to go to Tughlakabad Biodiversity Park. And the entire project was actually constructed around that. It was a 2-week project.
Yeah.
And we were talking about sustainability, we were talking about environment, prakriti, nature, and the laws and legality of everything as well around nature, which is one thing that was very beneficial working with you guys, with NDNS, because not only were you taking us for the nature walks, you were also, there's enough information based around the legality of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Tree census to even the kind of protests that you guys have done, right?
Yeah.
So it was a space for us to have an entire project just constructed around NDNS was doing.
Yeah.
And with 240 students.
Yeah, it was a big batch.
Yeah, very big batch. And for many of them, it was actually being out like that for the first time in their lives.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic actually.
And those students were just out of school, right?
Just out of school, the first year.
Batch,
yeah.
First year. And I remember there were so many students every time, and everyone had different personalities, different interests. They were curious about different things out there in nature. They would ask different questions. So it was good to pick at so many minds also. We were getting asked so many questions along the way, and it helps us also to understand and learn more things when we try to explain these things to others. And it was a fun nature walk. We got to see different birds, different plants. There was an entire water filtration system over there. The water was getting cleaned in a natural process without using any chemicals or electricity or anything. And there was Dr. Vivek was also there,
right,
and his team. So they were quite helpful. And what about the students? How was their reactions later?
So, I must say, for the first time, I think for us was so amazing to witness them actually getting the space to explore something, not out of their comfort zone. They weren't on their phones. For about 2 hours, they didn't touch their phone. Apart from taking photographs. Right? And it's a batch of 60 students, so definitely some of them will be lagging behind. But there were surprises. Definitely, a lot of them were very interested. They were asking the right questions. They were very curious. They got the space to realize that there is no wrong question in this case. There were dogs following us. There were puppies, so they got the space to play and immerse themselves in that. Matter of fact, there were about a few students who actually carried garbage bags with them. And on the walk, they were cleaning up. We hadn't told them about this. So, which was very heartwarming for us to see, One more thing that we realized is that, in a classroom environment, you can see only certain aspects of a student. When we took them out, some of them really shone, they completely became so bright, and there are facets of them which we didn't realize existed. The kind of questions they were asking, we didn't know that they had such characters,
Yeah. And I remember one student had done some sketches of me and Dr. Vivek also.
Right, yeah.
So, whatever their skills were, their interests and hobbies were, it was all getting activated out there.
Yeah.
Because, we were not that strict also.
Right. There's a huge freedom also being out there, no?
Yeah.
So for them to realize, we can have a class outdoors and turn it into a project at the same time. It was an experiment for us, and it was certainly quite successful. And just have to figure out how to incorporate more and more of these spaces, being out.
Only when they connect with nature, then they'll want to save it, and then they'll realize what they like.
Absolutely.
Once they try something new, then they will realize that whether they like it or not.
Absolutely. And even for designers and artists, you're saying that you want to be creating something. It's a responsibility. What are we using? What materials are we using? How are we discarding these objects or products at the end of it? How are we looking at garbage? These are very important questions to raise, and not just create things that can be bought and sold and thrown away and discarded. We are in a situation like that because people haven't been thinking.
Yeah, we have to think about our resources, sustainability.
Yeah.
And everything is connected, and if we don't pay attention to all that, then we have to suffer at the end.
Yeah.
So it's good that so many kids could come, and many of them even told us that they didn't even know that such a place would exist in Delhi.
We didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know a place like that existed. And
your college is right there.
Yeah, the college is like 10 minutes away. I didn't know it existed,
Yeah.
Or like this intense level of work has been happening for so long.
Yeah.
The water filtration, for example, looking at the level of trees, right? You have saplings, you have trees which are like about a year old, few months old, then you have something which is much older and much bigger, and realizing that it's all going to keep growing, it'll become a forest at some point.
Yeah.
So that was almost very awe-inspiring to kind of experience something like that.
Yeah, I think in a few years, as you keep going back, you'll start noticing the differences. I've been going there since around 4 or 5 years, I think. And I've seen so much change happening. So, if you and your students keep going back, maybe do this once a year or something.
Yeah, can't wait.
So you'll start noticing the differences. If you go in different seasons, you'll get to see different types of plants. In the monsoon time, everything is green, and there's a lot of mist in the air. Also, there's fog in the winters. In the summers, it's too hot, so a lot of people don't step out in the summers. But through the different seasons, we get to see different shades of the forest. And so, what else do you do with the students at the college?
So, the idea is they come there to learn how to be a designer.
Yeah.
And the process is to really expand their awareness, right? So also what happens is in the school education system, the thinking is very right and wrong based. Either you do this, you get a right result, or you get a wrong result. And it's very grade system based. So most of the students, majority of them, they're very scared to experiment and learn from making mistakes and failure, right?
Yeah.
It's a negative approach. But to be a designer or a creative person, you have to go through the process of making mistakes, learning from what cannot work at the same time. Only then new creation can happen. So I teach in the foundation department primarily, the first year. And our job is to really help them get out of their comfort zone, experience new challenges. And especially in today's sort of generation, the addiction to smartphone is so intense that when we say look at the world outside, that they can look for like 5 minutes and then they come back to their phones. But to immerse and to spend time and to be relaxed within that is quite a bit of a task. So we try to take them through this journey where there are no books. There is no like written test or exam like that. But you have to come to class every day, because if you skip a single day, you don't know how to connect the previous day to the next day. It's an experiential sort of thing. The project comes up from what you want to do. Our goal is the same, that we want you to grow from this limited thinking to a very expansive thinking. Go beyond judging to being open and becoming curious. So instilling or instigating curiosity is quite a tough task, which is where being in nature helped, because that was automatically they were curious. There was no other thought. So that's the journey we kind of
like we would point to some trees and ask them what is the name of the tree,
right?
How to identify the trees,
right?
Told them about tree blindness also. And this was just one location, so
right?
We covered 30 locations in 30 days in November. So throughout the year, we also cover other places of these 30 places. So maybe next time we can plan out for a different location, and students can get to see what else is there in nature.
And also to, it's like, because in design schools, there's a huge conversation about sustainability. And the conversation is on, like people talk about it, there's papers and like conferences and stuff. But to actually step outside and look at a tree and realize that it's a whole ecosystem That just by reading doesn't work. You have to experience it. That was our attempt, with taking them through the journey.
Even I had given some classes for class 9th and class 11th in this Mira Model School many years ago. And for one whole year I taught class 9th and 11th. And there was no classroom involved, there were no books involved. It was all outdoors, twice a week. And every time it was a different topic. I used to think of the topic on my way to the school.
So good.
And then we used to just wing it from there. The kids enjoyed it. It was one of the most... it was one class which they all look forward to joining.
I wish I had like a schooling system like that,
Then the principal even sent me to take the kids for an excursion trip out of Delhi with the other teachers. And we got to walk with them in the forest, took them for rock climbing. And it was just like whenever they had questions, they need someone experienced to at least guide them on whatever questions they have. You can't keep Googling everything. Even everything on Google was done by practical experience outdoors. So, now you've also worked with a lot of filmmaking, right?
Yeah, so I'm a filmmaker and photographer. My background is in that. And that's how I got into teaching, into design as well, and research.
And what do you like to make films or photograph?
So, I love photographing. Primarily, I love photographing people, nature, dogs, clouds. Anything organic, really. Yeah. Now that I'm speaking about it, I'm also realizing it at the same time. But I think I got into, or like how this entire thing began for me was because I wanted to use filmmaking as a tool to bring about a change. That was my intention, because I wasn't, and I'm still not very okay with the way the world is. And I had these, I still have these very big dreams to, make films which can impact and change, and I know it can happen.
Yeah.
And I think the process just takes its own time, because, just for example, like this project with my own students that is happening, it was also for myself. Like, how could I get a reason to also learn and get involved with what you are teaching? Yeah. And for me, one of the best ways was to incorporate that in a classroom environment where I am teaching. Because I didn't know anything. I wasn't the one teaching. I was learning from you, the same the students were learning from you. Yeah. So I think the journey has been that, how to educate myself, because then I can make an informed film. So just to answer, what do I like making films on? I've worked on many documentaries, mostly with human sort of settlement, human nature, to corporate films. I've traveled through the country working on lot on CSR projects documentation, which also looks at water development, women empowerment, farmland habitation and everything. Just a mix of...
And where can our viewers or listeners find your movies, films?
So, you can actually Google my name, Anurag Dasgupta, and Vimeo, and you'll find some things. It's all pretty scattered. So I'm working towards consolidating everything right now.
We can put some of the links in the description so that people can check out your videos. Which is the maybe top 3 videos you want them to
one
see?
project that I'm still kind of working on, which has been taking me some time, is a project on dogs, on free roaming dogs in India. And I've been working on this since quite a while. And the main intention of this project has been to showcase the glory and intelligence of dogs and the amount of abuse and disrespect that they go through in this country.
Yeah.
Pretty much the world, actually. And it's going to turn into a proper feature-length documentary. It's already got an Instagram page which has small videos that keep coming up. The research has been on. So that's my main sort of dream project I've been doing. It's an action. It's progressing. Yeah.
And any future plans in mind to do with filmmaking?
Yeah, so one project that I do really want to make, and we've already kind of started on this, is a film on ecology in urban spaces, especially focused on Delhi, nature in Delhi. And the initial idea was to look at pollution and what's happening in it, but then it kind of diverged in looking at, let's look at trees and what trees provide to the city and how we are not blind towards trees. Yeah. And trees affect not only air pollution, like impact and protect us from that, provide us shade, but and also keep the water balance sort of intact. But also my interest lies a lot in noise and sound, and which is something that after speaking with you is something that more and more I've been kind of understanding and realizing the pockets of sort of you showed us that map of the city. How clusters of almost cancerous cells were growing where buildings were there, and then suddenly you zoom out and realize, okay, the pockets of green. And even when you go for the biodiversity park walk, it's quiet inside.
You can't hear the traffic at all.
And how much of this noise and sound has an impact on the body and health, right? So the next project we're working on in this, so we've been visiting, me and a few of my friends who are trying to make this film, we've been visiting Deer Park and Lodi Garden in the mornings, spending some time, reorienting our bodies as well towards it. So yeah, that's the main project, and hopefully we can keep working on more and more projects and films which can have this ecological and questioning sort of urban spaces a lot more, So haven't figured out what the audience is yet, or how to get to a space where it can be a sustainable practice yet, but the goal is to do it, just get onto it.
Once you get to it, then you'll start figuring out the answers, I guess.
Yeah.
So, we're almost at the end of the show. Do you have any special words for the viewers and listeners?
I mean, firstly, it's great that you are doing this because you're already an inspiration. I've seen how you've been trying to set up NDNS since the past almost decade now. Even if silently I've been observing it, I've been observing it. And it's not easy to do something, especially, with nature and ecology in an urban setting, which is so driven towards profit and development. It's not easy. And I know that you started so much by doing things by yourself, And to be able to see that this generation of students could have an impact and could have this sort of a spark that grew within them because of your presence and what you brought to the table. And just to tell sort of everybody that, look around, be kind and look at what nature is providing. We're not separate from the ecosystem. We are a part of the ecosystem, no? So, and there are enough resources right now to be aware, educate, and spread the word, So pretty much that. Have hope.
I think making an army of the students is working out really well, because we've seen how people's lives are getting changed over time. They come for our programs and they get influenced and motivated to protect the environment. So earlier it was just me. Now there's like hundreds and maybe even thousands of people of different ages who have been activated, and wherever they go, they are making a change. So it's like a chain reaction, and it's really great that you could get so many students for our workshops, and I think we've made a big impact in what they're going to do ahead. It's like going to be a chain reaction. Each one of them is going to go and influence maybe hundreds and thousands more. And this is a chain reaction, and a huge army is getting built to protect the environment.
To make caring cool, no? You have to make it very cool. It is very cool to care.
It's like a cool trend, That's what, Nature has to become cool again, and we can make a big difference with every small step that we make.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming on our show.
Thanks
it was great to talk about all this stuff. And I think our viewers and listeners also have got some ideas, which they can always put in the comment section. And go check out Anurag's videos. We're going to put the links in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you all next time on the Nature Talks podcast. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.